Those crashes leaving families and friends of victims uncertain how to move forward, not just when it comes to getting on an airplane again, but life in general. We're so happy to have Heidi Cinader joining us here in the new newscast. You faced the same questions after your fiance, Michelle, was killed in a plane crash, flight 800 back in 1996.
Yeah, so I lost my fiance, Michelle, on TWA Flight 800 back in 1996. And following my loss, I started an organization called AirCraft, Casualty, Emotional Support Services, so people wouldn't have to go through their grief alone without the support of others who had been there before.
Because that's what you went through. You said you went to your school for help. You were at Juilliard, and you said, okay, who can I talk to? And they said, oh, we don't have that.
Right. And so following the loss, one thing that I found most helpful was to talk to other people who had been through it before. And I was paired up with a woman who lost her fiance on Pan Am Flight 103, which had happened 8 years earlier. And other people were providing care to me and trying to, but this was the one person who really got it and really helped me through my grief. So from working with her, I realized how important it was for people to have somebody who'd been through it before to help guide them through their journey. So then I reached out to all the Pan Am families and I asked them to come forward to help all of us from TWA Flight 800. So I started pairing mothers to mothers, siblings to siblings, spouses to spouses, and other relationships lost. So that way people have someone to talk to who's been there before, who's lived through it, to also just give them hope that they can survive because this person has too. And I just remember with this DC crash that just happened, I'm watching the debris on the ocean, and brought me right back to day one of watching TWA Flight 800 crashing when it crashed over the dark Atlantic waters, seeing all the flames and all of that. And so many of us relive our losses after this, and we're really there with them, and our hearts are with them. And the people in our organization have all come forward to volunteer, and they all have the unenviable credentials of having been there before.
I have this image in my mind of people holding hands across the country. Can this be sort of a, I was at the grocery store, I saw my fiance's favorite hot chocolate, and I thought of him. I mean, I imagine grief might come up anywhere and everywhere.
Right, and our grief mentors comprehend that, and that's really what their job is, to really work with the person and be their best friend and just be this ear of someone who's been in their shoes before. And they know what it's like to, how do I clean up my child's room? How do I set up a memorial in memory of my loved one? So it's really learning from other people who have been through this painful journey before. And they're the most remarkable people who have come forward over the years, and they've all lost people and all had their lives changed and turned upside down. And that led me to actually go around the country and interview a lot of them, and I wrote a book called Surviving Sudden Loss, Stories from Those Who Have Lived It, so they could share their stories from the first moment that it happened and their whole life journey and the remarkable people they've become after going through such tragedy. And that information we've also used to help train airlines and care teams and first responders, because these people will say, I remember when my care team member from the airline came to me and said this was so helpful, and when they said this, it wasn't so good. So we just basically took all this information, and we do our best to make sure that first responders, Red Cross, when they have to respond to airlines, know what it's like for these people who oftentimes are gathering, but their remains haven't been found yet.
Right.
And they're still waiting for so much information. And that's kind of what's different between many losses and this type of loss, is that it just takes so long to figure out what happened. And I just remember waiting weeks for my fiance's body to be found, and so many of these people you're waiting, there's all this time. Right. And for those who've been through it before, we remember that, we know what that feels like. And then when they're found, it's a whole new grief process that you begin, because the reality that they're gone really sets in.
Right. Right.
And everybody just expects a separation of just days, and then suddenly it's forever. And
it's like it's always fresh. Can I ask you, in just the seconds we have left, and we put up your organization's information. It's accessed. We'll get to it again in just 1 second here. It's accesshelp.org, and there's a tab right at the top. If people need immediate help, they can reach help that way. There's also, of course, a way to give, which would be very, very helpful. Can I ask real quick, do you find that you and other survivors are helped by helping others?
Yes, I think it's a wonderful way for people to do something productive with their losses, to become grief mentors and be able to do something positive in memory of their loved ones.
Well,
to be there for others.
It's really incredible work you do, because you're putting yourself into it. I can tell you put your whole heart, your whole being into it, and who knows how many people you've helped, and unfortunately those people will be able to help others thanks to the good work you're doing.
Well, thank you.
Heidi, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you. It really, really is.
Well, thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you. All right.